Hello, everyone. Welcome to HubSpot Setup Secrets, What Pros Do First. I'm Casey, and this series is all about answering one deceptively tricky question. What do you actually do first when you get into a new HubSpot portal? I've asked a handful of HubSpot pros to come share their real life approaches because no two admins do it exactly the same. And I'm here to learn right alongside of you. This series is part of something bigger I'm working on. It's a program I kicked off on Monday called 30 Days of HubSpot, where I'm walking through the core tools, tips, and tricks based on what people really need to know and use every day in the platform. So these convos help shape that roadmap, and I hope they help you too. Today, I have with me my friend Alexia. Thank you so
Great,
much for joining me today.
of course.
Um, can you start off by giving a little bit of background on your HubSpot journey?
Sure. So, I have been shaking things up a little bit at a company called the Abs Company and making sure that we're kind of coming into a lot more, digital things instead of paper. Because when I got there first, we were printing out orders on paper. So I got there, I was like, let's see if we can fix this. So in my journey of translating everything into more digital procedures, we decided we needed to find a way for our marketing team to send out more targeted emails. And we were finding that we didn't know who was buying where. And that was, not really a great thing. We could find it eventually, but it took a lot of digging.
Mhm,
So, in that, we also kind of figured out our sales team doesn't have too much of a process at the moment. So we need to find a way to help them actually follow up and sell better and faster and easier. So I went on the hunt for a CRM. Initially, it was just marketing, but it kind of grew. Let's actually find a CRM.
mhm,
So did some research and found two options. One was Zoho and one was HubSpot.
mhm.
Zoho is obviously the less expensive of the two. It had all the features and stuff, but I wasn't 100% confident. I found a lot of spelling errors in the interface. Like, so if the spelling errors are on the front end, what's going on in the back end? No, no shade to Zoho, but it wasn't really for me.
That's really
Um,
funny that you're like,
but
oh, well.
that was a few years ago. Uh,
They've
but when
probably
I
fixed
came,
them.
hopefully, you think. So I also saw HubSpot and took a look at what they were doing, and the interface felt good. The community that I was finding after, while I was doing my research felt good. The support and the responsiveness of the sales team was great. And I'm like, okay, I think I really need to push for HubSpot. So I did. I pushed for HubSpot, and one of the things the apps company prides itself on is working to be the best in the industry. So,
Mhm.
if we want to be the best in the industry, why do we even consider something that's second in the industry, right? And somebody who is actually innovating the way we're innovating um, was HubSpot. It wasn't anything else. So, when I brought that to the table with that kind of messaging to our CEO, he's like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
I like that you, like, spoke to you, like, knew the you knew the levers to pull. You were like, "If we wanna be
Yes,
the best."
yes, exactly. Um, which is great because I know that was, one of our values is to, to innovate and to actually, uh, one of our values is called big things, right? So
Mhm,
we're thinking big, we're thinking um, innovatively and bringing in tools and processes and things that will help us grow that we we didn't think of before. So anyway, so we continued, we got HubSpot in, and we hired an agency to help us implement it because
mhm.
I'd never used it. This was my first exposure to HubSpot,
And
and I really haven't. Hmm?
remind me again, what did you didn't get hired for, like,
Oh
CRM
no,
management or anything. What were you hired for again?
I was
I know you've
initially
told me.
hired for order processing
Yeah.
and website development. So
A little
um,
different.
I have a tendency of being a little bit of a loudmouth when I think that things aren't working the way they should work. I like it when processes are efficient and
Mhm,
there are, you know, granted, you want to be as flexible as you can be, but there needs to be an underlying process. When especially when you're dealing with the way we sell things is we sell B2B and we sell B2C, but the B2B part,
mhm,
where individual salespeople are actually going to the gyms and things like that. So we have a lot of face time with our
mhm,
customers.
mhm,
So again, we need that flexibility, but we also need a baseline process. We didn't have a baseline process. And that was most of like most of our operations were kind of haphazard when I first got in there.
mhm,
Um, they were starting to get more digital. They were bringing orders in directly to QuickBooks when we were using QuickBooks. But the thing is that the orders were not like the orders from the sales team had to be manually entered and printed. So I'm like, yes, let's get rid of some of this, redundant thing because there's multiple redundancies. Like somebody's entering it here, we're entering it there, we're going to enter it here again, and it was
mhm,
just like too many points of error
mhm.
and too much time in a process that didn't need to take that much time.
Yeah.
So while I was processing orders, I was really kind of learning the whole system, learning the business, and seeing where things were really slow. And with an eye to the future, because we kept on saying we want to grow, we want to make sure we're the biggest in the industry, the best in the industry at what we do. I'm like, but the systems aren't matching that value. So I kind of took it on myself to start finding ways to make those systems work according to the values that we had.
Mhm,
And so the first thing I did was we moved into Shopify.
mhm,
I'm sorry. First thing we did was we moved to an ERP. So instead of using QuickBooks and spreadsheets to manage our inventory and stuff like that, we moved everything into an ERP. And that now we have 100% visibility to where everything is at every single point in time.
mhm,
And they didn't have that before. So that was like amazing for our ops team and our logistics team. Um, and on top of that, the accounting was a lot smoother too because inventory and accounting were in the same place.
mhm,
And then, I again evaluated. We were on WordPress and WooCommerce. And I'm like, I don't have a whole lot of time now because I'm also trying to admin all of these other things to maintain a WordPress WooCommerce website. Let's see what we can do. And I'm like, let's figure out if we can just move to Shopify because that's going to take a lot of the maintenance out of my day-to-day business and my day-to-day work. So they agreed. We migrated into Shopify. And then after that is when we were looking for a way to improve our marketing and sales team process. So
mhm.
anyway,
And then over to
that's
HubSpot.
yeah. Yeah. Now we're in HubSpot.
Well, one thing I love about your journey is that I I think it's really different than, like, the journeys I hear from and it's probably just my circles. I swim in marketing circles. You come from, like, such a different background, and so that is why I was really excited to have you on to kind of think through,
Mhm.
um, what what the process looks like from your mindset.
Yeah.
Um, and so with that migration, what are maybe we'll start with the positives. What do you think? We'll start positive, go negative.
Sounds good.
What are the things that you felt like you did or the team did well, starting out in HubSpot? Because it was brand new to
Hmm.
you, at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
If
I'm
someone is
s-
doing this, what would you tell them to do as well?
um I think one of the biggest things is we had a small small we have a team of we had a team of 5 salespeople at that
Mhm,
time.
mhm,
And our marketing department was totally on board. They wanted the technology, but our sales team, they really didn't have a whole lot of process at the time, and we had to get them on board. So, in order for the systems to succeed, you need buy-in from the people who are using the systems.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where we started. We're like, hey, this is a new system that we're going to bring in. Things are going to change,
Mhm.
but we want your feedback and we want to make sure that we're doing what you believe is correct because you guys are the sales team, and we want to make sure we implement the system so where you're going to actually use it. So with their input and with what we knew about um, sales, our marketing director is now our VP of sales and marketing, so she knows a bit more about sales than I do. So she was able to help um, kind of get a system, kind of an outline of what we wanted to get done
Mhm.
within HubSpot. So getting their buy-in was super important. Um, because they're going to be in it all the time. A lot of the time, the reason why systems fail is that people aren't using them the right way, or they're not
Mhm.
using them, period. So it's super important to get them on board. And even today, we continue to do trainings weekly. So
Mhm.
even if it's tiny, 10-minute little thing, we continue to
Mhm.
train our sales team all the time. Um, I say we, it's mostly me. um,
And that's like training on HubSpot specifically,
yes,
like,
yes,
like new features or
hmm,
new processes. Very cool, very
exactly.
cool.
Yep. Um, so I knew that training and keeping them on board was going to be super important. The other thing was trying to figure out what we were going to do with the data that we already had
Mhm.
because we had years and years and years of data. And it's like we had to make a decision. Okay, do we bring everything in or do we just bring a certain amount of things in? So we're like, okay,
Mhm.
let's base it on, our longest warranty um, time. So we have like a
Mhm.
3-year warranty on like the body of the machines.
Mhm.
So like, okay, we'll bring in 3 years worth of data. So 3 years worth of orders, 3 years worth of contacts. And so that's where we kind of started. And it was like an all hands on deck kind of thing. We like exported all the contacts and like, okay, listen, we need to scrub these things 6 ways from Sunday. We're deleting everything that's over X number of years old. We're only
Mhm.
keeping, the most recent. And let's make sure that the emails are good, make sure the phone numbers they exist, make sure the names are formatted properly, the addresses, make sure that like we had like 5 of us were working on this for like 3 months
Mhm.
in spreadsheets. So make sure that everything was as good as we could. And this is when we didn't have the luxury of feeding it into an AI to help us format. Now it's like, format this for me, please, and then he does it for me.
Son helps
So,
out, yeah.
yeah, that would have been helpful. But even with that process, you get kind of crappy data sometimes because you just can't help it. It's just people, and we don't know. Not everybody knows the customers as well as the sales team does.
Mhm.
And even then, the sales team is like, I don't know what their address is. I don't know what their phone number is because they've been working with spreadsheets and post-its and stuff. So we got the data as clean as we could get it and brought it in. And of course, you're going to have some junk, and we're dealing with
Mhm.
that, as we go. And we've been dealing with that since we've had it, but it's going to happen. So we started with contacts and
Mhm.
companies, make sure those were in first. Then we worked on, I think we did 3 years worth of orders, so deals, order history.
Mhm.
We brought those as closed orders. And so we would have a way for the team to look up older orders without having to ask our ops team, hey, do you remember this order? Then, so
Mhm.
brought that in as well. And then we also, through conversations with our sales team and the partner that we had hired to help us out, who set up most of it for us, and then we came in and told them what we wanted and how to implement things. And we tried to lean on their expertise a little bit as well, but at the same time,
Mhm.
we didn't have a whole lot of process to begin with.
Mhm.
So we kind of were making it up as we went along. So we got something in place and we got our initial, like, this is the first thing, it's going to change. let's work it first and see what we need to change. So that's kind of how we approached getting the sales team in. Um, so I didn't allow the sales team in HubSpot until like a month after we had implemented it, so I could
Mhm.
make sure that everything was working. Um, our basic workflows were set up by the partner, but I dove headfirst into learning. I got as many certifications as I could in the those couple of months.
Mhm.
I read everything I could. I watched videos. Was I've I found a lot of really good information on HubSpot, on their knowledge base, on their
Mhm.
community boards, and I mean that was one of the reasons why I recommended us to go on to HubSpot is because there's so much support out, even just within HubSpot itself, there's a lot of support, but outside of the community is just absolutely amazing.
Mhm.
And I joined Sprocketeer like almost the minute I found out about it. So I'm like, yep, need to be there.
And
Um,
you're still very active in Sprocketeer,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. It's been really helpful, especially as a solo admin, especially as somebody
Mhm.
who's coming into it, pretty much with no experience in any CRM.
Mhm.
Who's I'm an autodidact basically. I Once I need to know something, I dive into it and learn it.
Mhm.
So that serves me very well with the whole ecosystem as well. So
Mhm.
um once we got the sales team in, we got them working. We're like, okay, let's see what pieces of our marketing we need to put in here. Let's start making workflows for the marketing. Let's start, you know, figuring out where those friction points started happening,
Mhm.
and if we could help our sales team by doing some automations or changing the system. So as we worked in it, we were actively looking for things to change and modify and tweak. And again, every week we would sit down with the sales team and say, hey, what's going on? How are you finding the system? Do you need anything? What do you think you would need? How would this make it easier? So we've been going back and forth with them the entire time, even now. New things come up. I mean, we've gone from one pipeline to four
Mhm.
because the business needs it. And as we continue, we'll continue to reevaluate and figure out where the friction points are, if they're new friction points, if there's, other things we need to adjust, we'll just keep changing. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about it is that I can make the changes I need to make relatively quickly. And if I don't know how to make them, there's places to figure it out.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like there's a lot of communication, specifically with, like, you and the sales team.
yep.
Um, I know a common pain point I hear is sales team adoption of the CRM, especially if you're going from no CRM,
Mhm.
to a CRM. And so am I correct that, like, it kind of came from sales leadership down? Or I guess, like, I've heard a few different strategies on
Well, so our our um our sales team really were kind of autonomous, sort of.
Mhm,
Um, we had a lead, but they're not like a sales lead, they're just a lead. Um,
mhm,
and usually it was one of the leadership team, either the CEO or somebody else. And now it's the VP of sales. So it's still kind of fluid, but because of that, we were able to, and because there were five of us, five five sales team people,
mhm,
sales reps, um, we were able to really sit down with everybody because they were accessible and willing. And I want to credit them a lot because it was a huge change for them. And they were willing to just jump in with me.
mhm,
So, I don't know how all other sales teams work. I know this is how our sales team work. We talk a lot. There's always
mhm,
meetings, there's always they're always communicating. I'm training every week. I make videos for them all the time. So it's a good relationship and a very, open and honest relationship. So if I see something wrong, I can say, hey, let's fix this, start doing it this way. If they see something wrong, they feel open and uh, they feel comfortable coming to me with whatever they have with the system, and I can either walk them through how to do it if they're not doing it correctly, or talk about what the problem is and see what we can fix,
Mhm.
what automations or process we can fix. So it's very collaborative. um, I know not a lot of sales teams are like that, and I know it's kind of hard to bring them along sometimes. But
Mhm.
one thing that I think was incredibly important for us was there were two of our sales team were very tech savvy and were like ready and willing to jump in and able to also translate some of the things that we were doing and teach each other.
Mhm.
So that was super important for us to have somebody who was um, just willing to dive in and with me and help us get the team to where they needed to go.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is it's so simple, but, like, also, like, I think my
It's not.
biggest takeaway from this conversation, yeah, it's not. It sounds simple, but and especially, like, in my role where I've never worked in-house somewhere, so I have always had this, like, I feel like an invisible barrier between me and the sales team, and a lot of times that's because I'm not working directly with the sales reps, I'm working directly with someone else who
Mhm.
then works with the sales reps, but I think, especially if you have your sales team adopting HubSpot, having open communication with them, finding what things they're having pain points with, and then if you're able to solve those with HubSpot, that can go a long way.
Absolutely, and it's super important to have their buy-in and to let them feel like they not let them, but actually have them
Mhm,
have some kind of impact in the system and some ownership to the system as well.
mhm,
So it's not only, this is what you do, this is, okay, let's take a look at your processes. Let's take a look at what you're doing. Show
mhm,
me what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Take me through a deal from open to close.
mhm,
What are the things you're doing? How are you doing it? Where are you doing it?
mhm.
Let's figure out how to translate that into something in HubSpot that makes sense.
Yeah.
And at that point, since they understand that they've been heard and they felt heard. And that's super important when you're working with anybody, is to make sure that they feel heard. And not
Mhm,
just, okay, get the information in, but actually then turn around and implement what you guys were talking about. So it's not enough just to listen to them. It's you have to then implement what they want. Granted, there are some things that they might say that aren't necessarily possible or good or technically feasible or whatever, but that's where I come in, is like, okay, let's translate that into a way to put it into HubSpot to make things easier
mhm.
for you.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, yeah, it sounds like you did a lot to get the sales team bought in. I did want to touch on like what things you wish you did differently during this process, if you were doing
Yep.
it again.
So, my ideal would have been to just not bring anything old into the system.
Mhm.
I had said it multiple times while we were setting everything up, and I got shot down every single time. I understand why. Totally get it. I understand why. However, for me, when you go into a new system, I feel like it would be best to just put in the new stuff that comes
Mhm.
in,
Mhm.
and have a hard delineation before and after. So everything before you reference this system, everything after is in this system.
Mhm.
Um, Whether that will ever happen with any other company that I ever work for, I have no idea. But in this company here, it was important for the sales team to make sure, because we had no other reference really, because the sales team didn't really have access to the other systems to look things up. So we went ahead and put in some old data. And then, putting in the old data, you get some crap. That's just the way things are.
Mhm.
But that was like one thing I really wish would have been something to do, that we could have done, because things would have been so much cleaner at this point.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
have a dashboard of uh items to get to 0, and unfortunately, they're all like 300,
Yeah.
700,000. Like, data
That's
issues.
yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
we'll eventually get there.
I do a decent amount of projects that are like lead source, custom lead source projects.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of times those old databases sometimes the data is so bad or
Yeah.
unhelpful. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, sometimes you just have to say, and these 1,000 people, we don't know. And like just move on
And
because
just yes, exactly. Let's say goodbye to them. They don't need to be in our system.
yeah. They haven't visited our website since 2015 that we know of, so, like, let's move on. Oh, well. Yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds like the biggest pain point you still have personally is the,
It's
data
the data.
cleanliness. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And again, as a solo admin, there's only so much you can do.
Mhm.
So I pick my battles. And this one is one that I pick up every so often, but it's not something I can focus on. But
I
yeah, but
think
I mean, the other thing that I really would have liked to have is a bit more of direction with the sales team. So like somebody who actually knows sales and has actually thought about our sales process in the business, um, to help bridge the gap between no sales process and the sales process. That would have
Mhm,
been a little helpful, but you know, at the same time, it allowed me to learn their process as well because I was
mhm.
mostly in ops and mostly in logistics and operations. So I got exposure to the sales team. I had to learn quickly a lot of the things they were saying. Like, I'm not quite sure what you mean, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So it gave me the opportunity to grow there, and figuring out how to help the sales team translate their processes into HubSpot.
I think one thing that is cool about your use case is that since you started from basically nothing, you were able to build intentionally.
Mhm.
Um, so often, as a consultant, I'm brought into a mess. And I think one thing I should do maybe as a consultant sometimes is like, okay, pretend we were at zero. What would we build then?
Mhm.
And then starting to prioritize, like, from there, and rather than sometimes the knot is just too knotty and you just gotta cut it, you
Yes,
know?
for sure. Absolutely.
You just gotta cut the knot out, you just gotta move on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good approach because then you're asking for ideals, what
Mhm,
is the ideal outcome here? And usually that's where I start. What do you want to happen? What do
mhm,
you want to have happen? What do you see? And how do you feel? And what do you need? And how are
mhm,
you working
mhm.
ideally? And then, we can kind of tease apart all the little bits when you have that final, ideals situation.
Um, so I'm gonna end on what I usually make my first question, but we started diving in, and it was really interesting to hear your perspective, so, um now that you have let us know that, what you would do first is, clean the data, only import as clean of data as you can, and align with the sales team. Are those fair? I don't know, those were
Yes.
like
Yeah.
3, but I don't know if that was
About 3. Yeah, I think that
Um,
works.
however, I do wanna ask you why is this question so hard to answer? Why does everyone have a different answer? Why
Um,
why am I doing
why?
more than one video here?
Um, because every single business is unique. Even though we're using the same system, every process is different. Because companies are made of people and the people are the ones who are dictating the processes, there's infinite variations of what can actually happen within HubSpot. So, trying to make sure that we're implementing the company's processes and not just a process because it's the best thing to do or best practices. Like integrate the best practices, but take a look at the actual company and the people. who are going to be using the system and what they need. So that's why every single implementation is vastly different, and you can't really standardize a whole lot. And that's one of the beauties of HubSpot, is you're able to make it work for variety of companies. So
Mhm. Thank you.
yeah,
All right. That's a wrap on today's HubSpot Setup Secrets. Huge thanks to Alexia for sharing your go to moves and behind the scenes thinking. And if you have any tips of your own or want to be on a future stream, shoot me a DM. We will see you next time.
so yeah.
Do, do, do. I need Chris.